Through the many Adventure Time characters I've covered, there's a lot of debate over which one fans consider the best. We've talked about the characters who lost their sense of purpose, who had to live with the silence after becoming sane again, who couldn't bear what they had done, so they shut the door to redemption. But you see, while all of these characters are extremely compelling, in my opinion, there's one character that is leagues above them all in terms of depth and complexity, or at least on par with Simon Petrikov, a character who was merely a playful troublemaker at first, a character who ended up being one half of the show's heart and soul, a character that was born from the evils of the Nightosphere, but nurtured by the warmth of Earth, a character that calls into question how much of who we are comes from the memories we can't escape. This is a story of Marceline, the Maiden of Malice and Memory. If you're new around here, please subscribe. According to my analytics, 90% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. I'm on the road to 200k subscribers, and I'm hoping to make a big character breakdown on Finn when that happens. I make video essays on all kinds of movies, shows, and games, and I love analyzing characters. If that all sounds interesting to you, stick around. I have even more great content planned for the future. With that out of the way, let's get to the video. We start at the very beginning, to the first time Marceline Abadir appeared in season 1, in the episode Evicted. One night, after Jake tells Finn a scary story about vampires, Finn hears weird noises coming from outside his window, and... Huh? Hello there. To think that this frame is the first time we ever see Marceline on screen. She comes into the treehouse, tells them that she's the vampire queen, and unlike traditional vampires, she chooses to suck the red color of things instead of blood. It really seems like she's a friendly person, but then she tells the pair that they should get going. Why? Well, she reveals that the treehouse they live in was originally hers, as evidenced by the M she carved in the treehouse years ago. So she kicks them out and becomes the main antagonist for the episode.
I'm gonna kill her!
Finn and Jake go house hunting, fail time and time again, and eventually they come across an uninhabited cave. They move in and throw a party. But check this out, you're gonna love this.
This cave belongs to me!
So Finn and Jake fight her. It looks like she kills Jake, setting Finn off, and after he lands a clean punch, Marceline says,
"That actually hurt, Finn."
She then laughs and kisses Finn on the cheek. Now, apparently, this is what caused a particular fan base to start shipping the two. I have no clue why when the girl is confirmed to be 1,000 years old in this episode, and Finn is 12. Anyway, it turns out Marceline isn't all that evil, she just goes a bit overboard with the act. In the end, she gives Finn and Jake their treehouse back as a gift. This was a solid introduction to her character. She's playful, musical, kinda scary, and a formidable opponent and adversary, seeing as she can shapeshift into different creatures. The next time she appears is in the episode Henchmen. Finn and Jake come across Marceline in a forest, treating one of her henchmen like complete shit. In response, Finn says he'll take his place, seeing as the guy is frail and old as Fwark. Yeah, this is back when Finn was all,
"My code of honor wouldn't allow it."
So what kind of horrible things does Marceline, the vampire queen, make Finn do? Well, it's here we see one of Marcy's most prominent character traits, rage baiting. She first acts like she's gonna suck this guy's blood, but turns out she was actually eating the red color of his bow tie. Then she goes to the Duke of Nuts' castle, acting like she's gonna invade it, but she's actually the
special entertainment.
And just when Finn is about to realize that this woman isn't actually evil, she tells him to kill this cute plant creature. Finn is obviously hesitant, and you can guess the pattern here. After this, Finn finally catches on to Marcy's games.
What are you talking about? Dang, man, I didn't think you'd ever catch on.
We even get the first mention of Marcy's mom in this episode.
Can't the sunlight destroy you?
Yeah, it hurts, but I kinda like it. Reminds me when I'd scrape my knees up as a kid and my mom would patch me up.
This is the episode that pretty much solidified that she's a strong ally to Finn and Jake, despite Jake trying to kill her at the end. We now arrive at the season 2 premiere, It Came from the Nightosphere. Finn and Marceline are having a jam session where she sings a raw and personal song about her father and how he once ate her fries. No, seriously, that's the song. I'm not gonna play it since it might just get muted, RIP bacon pancakes in my Jake character breakdown, but essentially, the song is about her feeling that her father doesn't care about her. Finn asks why she doesn't simply tell him how she feels, and she responds that even trying to go see him is a major hassle. And without her knowing, she explains to Finn how to create this random ass ritual to summon her father from a dimension called the Nightosphere. This is Adventure Time's version of hell, ruled by Marceline's father, effectively the series equivalent of Lucifer. Fun fact, Marceline is voiced by Olivia Olsen, and her father Martin Olsen voices Hunson Abadir. You'd think this is the only fun fact that has to do with Marceline's voice actor, but as I'll mention later, there's another huge one. Anyways, Hunson shows up, takes away Marceline's bass guitar, revealing that it's actually the family axe, and then starts going around sucking the souls of everyone in ooze. Finn goes after him, with Marcy tagging along because
My dad stole my bass guitar, Finn!
Marceline and Hudson clash back and forth, with Marcy acting like an angsty teen, until Finn plays the recording of her Fries song in front of them both. This causes Hudson to self-reflect.
Marceline, of course I love you.
Dad.
I'm sorry I ate your fries. I didn't mean to hurt you. They weren't even very good. They were really cold. I love you, Marceline. Don't you ever doubt that.
I love you too, Dad.
This gives Finn enough time to banish him back to the Nightosphere.
I'll see you in the Nightosphere, you sick freak.
This episode confirmed that Marceline is a half-demon, meaning that on top of being a vampire, she's actually even more powerful than we initially thought. The Fry song and the bass being a family axe all get paid off later as well, and I'll get back to those moments. I'll briefly touch on the episode Go With Me. Finn keeps trying to ask PB to the movies, so Jake calls Marceline to help. This leads to a cute gag revealing that Marceline was in the treehouse the whole time. This moment also gets a callback in a future episode. Anyways, Marcy and PB interact for the first time on screen.
Hey, Marceline.
Hello, Bonnabelle.
Yeah.
This is actually the first time we hear PB's real name, suggesting that these two have an even deeper history. The episode then becomes a tug of war between whether Finn should take Marcy's advice or Jake's advice. What I want to look at closely is the advice Marcy gives Finn. She tells him to show PB that he's fun, which somehow translates to wrestling and putting werewolves in her room. With what we know now about PB and Marcy's relationship, this part of the episode takes on an entirely different meaning. At first, it feels like Marceline is simply telling Finn what he considers fun, but also what she considers fun, especially with the wolves. But in hindsight, it comes across as her intentionally messing with PB. Some people have suggested it's because she was a little jealous of Finn, which is honestly ridiculous when you remember that Marcy and PB are later revealed to be immortal and, like I said, over 1,000 years old. In the end, Finn realizes he wants to take Marcy to the movies, but she respectfully declines.
No one would want to go to the movie with...
The thing is, he says he doesn't want to date her either. He just wants to bring someone to the movies. That's when we get this amazing moment.
If you weren't looking for a girlfriend, then why were you romancing it up all day?
'Cause Jake said couples nights have weird kissing requirements and romance initiation rituals and whatever else.
I didn't really say all that.
I'll also briefly touch on the episode Heat Signature. Here, it's revealed that vampires can't harm ghosts, while ghosts can harm vampires. They have a kind of rock, paper, scissors dynamic. The episode centers on Finn and Jake wanting to become vampires so they can fly, and in classic Marceline fashion, she pranks them by faking their new powers. What's funny is that the show initially treats abilities like flight and invisibility as standard vampire traits, but later we learn how Marceline actually got those powers, and that becoming a vampire doesn't automatically grant them. Again, I will also get back to this. We now arrive at one of Marcy's most important episodes, Memory of a Memory. This hermit dude comes to Finn and Jake for help, stating that Marceline accidentally cast a sleep spell on herself. So he sends them into her mind so that they can find the memory of that happening to her.
Like, if you know all this, why not just do it yourself?
Entering a person's mind can be dangerous, and I don't have any arms.
Major foreshadowing. He gives them some magical dust and casts a spell on Finn's forehead, causing it to glow as he gets closer to the memory. They're sent into her head and find baby Marcy in a war-torn city. She's holding Hambo, an incredibly significant object to her story, as we'll see later. Finn and Jake approach her, saying that they're her friends, but she responds,
Hambo is my only friend.
There might be a slight plot hole here, which I'll get more into later. We also get to see the memory of Hudson eating Marcy's fries.
Yo, man,
What?
don't eat those.
Marceline!
Daddy, why?
Finn and Jake then enter a new memory and see their old treehouse, back when Marceline was living there. But she's not alone, she's with this guy called Ash. They then enter a new memory where Finn's head starts to glow, signifying that he's close to the memory they need to find. They're about to leave when Finn says,
Wait a sec, Jake. It's that guy again.
It's revealed that her boyfriend Ash sold her teddy bear Hambo to a witch in exchange for a stupid wand. Marcy lashes out at him, saying that the teddy bear was extremely important to her, and she breaks up with him on the spot. Later, Finn and Jake think they found the memory of Marcy putting the sleep spell on herself, and when they wake up, it's revealed that the hermit was actually Ash! He reveals to them that the memory they stole was actually their breakup, so Marcy now has no recollection of what happened between them. Later, Finn brings Marcy into his mind and shows him his memory of seeing Ash and her break up. This causes her to finally remember, and they jump the guy. 100% deserved, especially since he even says this wild line.
You need to get back in the kitchen and make me dinner.
It's clear this episode was inspired by the movie Inception, with its distinctive morphing imagery and transitions. On top of that, it's providing us with brief glimpses of her backstory, accompanied by a lot of foreshadowing of future reveals. We now arrive at the episode What Was Missing. This weird creature, called the Door Lord, steals some of the prized possessions of our main characters and locks himself behind this gate. The five of them then perform one of Adventure Time's most banger tunes and eventually open the door to get back their stuff. What I want to highlight is the thing that was taken from PB. It was a shirt that Marceline gave her. Again, another seed that hints at what their true relationship was in the past. The other part I want to mention is that it's revealed that the Door Lord never actually took anything from Marcy, and she actually just wanted to spend time with everyone. A real softie at heart. The episode Marceline's Closet is a fun one. Finn and Jake start playing hide and seek in Marcy's house, but when she comes home, they end up hiding in her closet. They witness a bunch of deeply private moments, including a song where Marceline admits how alone she feels. Through this, we see that even though many of the main characters consider her a close friend, she often pushes them away without realizing it. A conflict that persists throughout the series until its latter half. Oh yeah, Finn even sees her naked.
What happened, man?
I'm not going back out there.
What happened? Bro?
Eventually, she catches them because
What the? Dude, you shape changed to look like me?
Yeah.
after the two apologize, she's not all that pressed, instead revealing to them,
I hide in your house all the time.
we did kinda see this already in Go With Me, a cute callback. We now arrive at the two-parter Return to the Nightosphere and Daddy's Little Monster. Finn and Jake wake up in the Nightosphere with no recollection of how they got there. Jake also wants to find an outlet to charge his camera phone because there are videos on it that explain everything and how they got there. The inhabitants of the realm tell them they need to find Marcy's dad, Hunson Abadir, to get back home. This is one of the funniest episodes in the show, as Finn and Jake encounter some of the weirdest shit they've ever seen. Oh yeah, we also got a moment that summarizes how I felt about Fionna and Cake when season 2 episode 7 came out.
Say something! Say something to me!
I can't. I got nothing to say anymore.
Thankfully though, the last 2 episodes of season 2 were absolute bangers. Go check out my breakdowns on them if you haven't already. Anyways, they eventually arrive to see this dark cloud causing mayhem and follow it inside this mountain. This is in fact Hunson Abadir's house. They fight him off, if you want to call what Jake does fighting. Finally, the two stumble upon a portal home. As they defend themselves from Hunson once more, Finn manages to cut open his head, and it's revealed that Hunson was actually Marceline all along. She tells him to never come back before shutting off the portal. After freshening up, Jake checks his camera and discovers footage of everything that happened before they woke up in the Nightosphere. In the video, Marceline appears through a portal, asking them to come visit because she's bored spending time with her dad. Finn says,
Whoa, wait a minute, Marceline. Last time I saw your dad, I sliced open his soul sack.
Oh no, he's totally chill now.
Cap! They arrive and Hunson Abadir pulls a Mufasa on Marceline.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
I want Marceline to take over the Nightosphere.
She obviously doesn't want to, stating that it's just not in her nature. And that would be the end of it. But then he gives her this amulet that would supposedly grant her wishes.
Dad, I'm 1,000 years old.
Ha! Yes, you are, sweetie. Daddy's little monster.
Oh hey, that's the name of the episode. After singing a song about no longer being his little girl, she puts on the amulet and transforms into the demonic form we saw earlier, knocking out Finn and Jake and trapping them in the Nightosphere. After finding out what happened to them, Finn and Jake travel back to save Marcy from the amulet, where they happen to come across Hunson at his house.
What are you doing?
He's happy to finally see Marcy taking over the family business by being a mindless freak and sustaining chaos within the Nightosphere. Finn throws Hunson's food on the floor and the pair manages to get the amulet off Marceline. Things briefly get worse when Finn is forced to put it on himself, but with Hunson's help, they manage to return home. The episode ends with one final moment between Marcy and her dad, where she admits that all she wants is for him to be proud of who she truly is. Hunson simply responds,
Baby, of course I'm proud of you.
Surprisingly, a somewhat wholesome ending. We don't see Hunson again for quite some time, suggesting that while he and Marcy are on better terms, there's still some lingering tension, especially since he tricked her and caused her to lose all control. Speaking of fathers, the most important part of Marceline's story is revealed in the episode I Remember You. I have a detailed analysis of this episode in my Simon Petrikov / Ice King character breakdown. Go check it out if you haven't already. This video goes hand in hand with that one. But I'll touch on the most important parts. Ice King comes to Marceline's house to write a song with her, but she firmly tells him,
What are you doing here? I told you not to come around me.
We have never seen these two interact in the show yet, so this is quite interesting to hear from her. At first, we all think it's because Ice King's a creep who loves to kidnap women, but it's far more complex than that. He quickly falls back into his usual erratic behavior, which only frustrates frustrates Marcy even more, not just because he's annoying her, but because she's seeing a warped reflection of someone she once knew. She sings a heartfelt song about how she spent years trying to avoid him, yet no matter what, he always manages to find his way back into her life. In the song, she admits that she's glad to see him, even though she hates it at the same time. Why? Well, Ice King, during another outburst, pulls out a stack of old papers he found tucked away in his ice tower. Among them, Marcy discovers a photo of herself as a baby, along with a letter written by Simon, who Ice King was before the crown fully took hold. As they sing together, tears roll down Marceline's face. The letter is addressed to Marceline, where Simon admits that the crown is changing him and causing his memories to fade.
Please forgive me for whatever I do when I don't remember you.
We then see a brief flashback, much like the scene we saw in Memory of a Memory, of baby Marceline moments after the mushroom bomb detonated, plunging the world into complete chaos. As she cries among the wreckage, a nearly transformed Simon approaches to comfort her, finding a teddy bear in the ruins of a nearby toy store and handing it to her. This is in fact Hambo, the bear that Ash had sold back in Memory of a Memory. This explained why she lashed out at him after finding out what he did. The bear became Marceline's last memento of the man who saved her, and her final connection to someone who was now nothing but a hollow remnant of who he once was. One thing that always confused me was, if we go back to A Memory of a Memory, Marcy seems to be a bit older here, as signified by Hambo losing a bit of his original color. If so, where is Simon in this memory? It's not like he'd leave her alone here, and we know from a later episode that he does end up leaving her after she's grown quite a bit. The obvious answer is that the writers hadn't fully come up with this backstory yet, but I still wanted to mention this. Arguably, watching Simon slowly become the Ice King is even more painful for Marceline than losing him entirely. If Simon had died, the grief would have been devastating, yes, but it would have followed a natural course, something she might eventually learn to live with. Instead, Simon is gone in every way that matters, while his body remains. His face is still there. His voice is still there. He exists as someone she both recognizes and doesn't. It's like seeing a ghost from your past coming back to haunt you. That's why Marceline told him to stay away. Seeing him like this is a pain unlike any other. The grief cuts even deeper because it never fully ends.
But what is grief, if not love? Persevering.
Marceline is forced to coexist with the Ice King, someone who was more of a father to her than Hunson ever was. Marceline is under the cover of darkness. A small part of her waits in the shadows for the day that Simon, the man who once protected her from the horrors of a now fully transformed world, might somehow return. This is considered by many to be one of the best episodes in the entire show, completely reframing everything you knew about the cartoon. It holds a truly special place in my heart. We now move on to season 5, and I'll briefly touch on the episode Finn the Human. Here, we're shown an alternate reality created by Finn's wish for the Lich to never exist, the farm world dimension. In this version of the world, magic doesn't exist. We see a frail and old Marceline by Simon's corpse, who explains that during the Mushroom War, Simon, using the Ice Crown's powers, prevented the nuclear bomb that would have created the Lich from detonating. Unfortunately, this ended up killing him. And ever since, Marcy's been guarding the crown. She does a horrible job, because Finn ends up stealing it.
Get the crown! Go get it! Get the crown, Marceline! Go get it!
And unfortunately, the Lich ends up existing anyway.
Jake!
I warned you, you butt.
This further strengthens the bond between Marcy and Simon's relationship, transcending across realities. In Bad Little Boy, Ice King kidnaps several princesses to read them his Fionna and Cake fanfic. Marceline steps in to rescue them, but ends up hijacking story time to share her own version of his fanfic instead, starring the gender swap version of herself, Marshall Lee. What I really like about this episode is how, after reconnecting with Simon in I Remember You, Marceline seems to be slowly accepting this new version of him, by indulging in his interests, no matter how ridiculous they may be. We now arrive at the follow-up to I Remember You, Simon and Marcy. This is the episode that flashbacks to their time surviving the fallout of the Mushroom War. The central conflict revolves around baby Marceline begging Simon to stop wearing the crown, as every time he uses it, it causes him to lose a bit of control, and he starts talking about some nonsense, something that deeply frightens her. She makes him promise never to put it on again. Later, after Simon tries to cheer Marcy up by simulating a TV show, he realizes she has a fever. The two venture into a nearby abandoned city in search of soup, where they encounter a mutant creature called Oozers, born from the bomb's fallout. It seems as though Simon is about to put on the crown, but he in fact keeps his promise and manages to take it out. They then come across a food truck, and it all seems like everything's gonna be okay. Let's be real here.
Clams? The clambulance? Marceline, cover your ears!
In a matter of seconds, a bunch of mutant creatures come after them, and the pair are eventually cornered. Simon hides Marcy inside a car, and with no other option left, he breaks his promise. He puts on the crown to protect her. Thankfully, Simon manages to snap himself out of the insanity, and miraculously, he ends up finding a small serving of chicken soup from a sentient piece of bubblegum. The flashback ends with him bringing it to Marcy and the two sharing a hug. You really can't go wrong with a story about an old man in a post-apocalyptic world doing everything he can to protect his daughter. It's also worth mentioning that much like Marceline and Hunson's voice actor share a real-life connection, Tom Kenny, Simon's voice actor, actually babysat Olivia Olson when she was younger. That real-world bond makes the episode feel even more heartfelt. Overall, this episode further contextualizes why Marceline cares so deeply for Simon. When the mushroom bomb detonated, he was so scared, arguably more than her given that he was slowly losing himself to the crown, and yet he still found time to cheer her up and go through great lengths to get something as small as chicken soup for her. We now arrive at the episode Sky Witch. This is a PB and Marcy focused story where the vampire queen seeks PB's help in tracking down a witch named Damaja. What I love is how we see a scene of PB wearing the shirt Marcy gave her, the one we saw in What Was Missing, as well as a photo of the two in her closet. Again, the hints just keep coming. The two eventually track down Maja, and PB learns that the real reason that they're tracking her down in the first place is because she has Hambo, that she got from Ash. When PB finally confronts her, Maja explains that Hambo is filled with sentimental affection, something she apparently needs for her spells. PB initially acts like she's ready to kick her ass, but it's later revealed that she trades the shirt Marceline gave her in exchange for the bear. This moment is actually huge for PB and Marcy's relationship, especially when Maja says,
"The psychic resonance on Hambo is nothing compared to this, baby!"
What that means is that the shirt Marceline gave PB carries even more emotional weight than Hambo does for Marceline, highlighting just how deeply PB values her connection to her. The episode Red Starved is another funny one. Jake, being the lovable dumbass that he is, accidentally traps Finn, Marceline, and himself in this underground city. He then fucks up even more as he realizes that he ate her red erasers, thinking it was chocolate. Actual fat ass man. I miss him so much though. Marceline's hunger begins to increase rapidly, and her more feral vampire side starts to emerge. PB eventually shows up to the rescue, with Marcy seemingly killing her. But no, turns out she can suck the color pink too, snapping her out of her carnal hunger. We actually see a callback to this in Fionna and Cake season 2. In the episode Betty, Ice King accidentally turns back into Simon after a wizard named Bellanoche tricks everyone. Simon punches Ash, not even realizing that's Marcy's ex, and he gives her a call.
Marcy, it's me, Simon. I'm back, but my body...
See, the only thing on Simon's mind is opening a portal to the past so he can apologize to his fiancée Betty, someone he never saw again after putting on the crown. To do this, he needs Marceline's teddy bear Hambo, an object cherished through the ages. Simon and Marcy's reunion is short but sweet, and Marceline willingly gives up Hambo for him as a way to thank him for everything he did for her. This moment also mirrors PB's sacrifice earlier. Just as PB gave up the shirt Marceline gave her for someone she loved, Marceline now gives up Hambo for the same reason. After this, some nonsense goes down, and Simon is unfortunately turned back into Ice King. Now, I was in the camp that Simon should have spent a little more time with Marceline after coming back. We didn't even get a scene of how she reacted to him going back to being the Ice King. To be honest, there's only so much you can cram into an 11-minute episode. Thankfully though, this criticism is actually addressed in a future episode, which I will get to later. We now arrive at season 7 with the episode Varmints. After PB is dethroned by the King of Ooh and moves into her Uncle Gumball's cabin on Lake Butterscotch, Marcy shows up extremely pissed that PB never told her any of this. Oh yeah, at the beginning of the episode, we even hear Marcy humming the song she sang in What Was Missing.
I'm gonna bury you in the ground.
As I stated in my PB character breakdown, this is the episode that pretty much confirms fully that the two were a couple in the past. PB apologizes for not telling Marcy about being dethroned, stating that she was feeling far too embarrassed. The main plot of the episode is the pair tracking down where these varmints are coming from, these annoying ass creatures who keep raiding Princess Bubblegum's pumpkin patch. Guys, try and say that really fast. Princess Bubblegum's pumpkin patch.
Princess Bubblegum's pumpkin patch. Princess Bubblegum's pumpkin patch. Princess Bubblegum.
They even come across this old mine where they used to hang out, finding some old graffiti PB made. We also get this important exchange.
Bonnabelle Bubblegum, always so prepared.
Yeah, I have to be always so prepared. We can't all just wing it.
This showcases one of PB's and Marceline's biggest differences. Marceline often goes through life without planning and mostly just improvises, as showcased by how she learns how the varmints work and mimics their abilities. Meanwhile, Bubblegum always chooses to prepare beforehand for any sort of issue or challenge she might face. Later, PB breaks down as the weight of losing the Candy Kingdom and pushing away the people closest to her becomes too much. Marceline comforts her, saying she'll keep watch through the night while Bonnabelle gets some rest. And so, this is the beginning/rekindling rekindling of Marcy and Peebee's relationship, even though they don't officially become a thing until the final episode of the show. Let's now get into the most important arc for Marceline, the Stakes miniseries. She comes to Peebee to ask her to turn her back into a human, uttering some of the most important lines that will serve as a central theme for not only the miniseries, but the show as a whole.
Some bad things happened to me when I was little. When I became a vampire, I was just a messed up kid. Now it's 1,000 years later and I'm still messed up. I don't want to spend eternity like this.
And with some hesitation, Peebee agrees. She even says,
"And someday, when you die, I'll be the one who puts you in the ground."
After her vampire essence has been drained, she goes to sleep and has a very interesting dream. We see her unconsciously draining the blood of a cow before her entire body splits into pieces. These pieces morph into 5 vampiric silhouettes before she wakes up out in the open. I'll get back to this dream in just a moment. The next morning, nearby village people see that their cows have been drained of all their blood. Finn and Jake realize that the only person who could have done this is Marceline, causing Jake to go full bad cop. Meanwhile, Peebee says to Marcy that she feels worried about the side effects of the procedure, that maybe she did something in her sleep. They don't even know if she's still a vampire or not. Peebee then says,
"Nobody on record has ever cured vampirism, unless you count killing vampires as curing. In that case, you've cured tons, right?"
Tons is an understatement.
Foreshadowing Marceline's backstory in the coming episodes. The pair show up, with Jake going full lethal weapon on Marcy's ass.
Oh, get some proof.
You want proof? Look!
Whoa!
Proof how off I'm gonna go if you don't confess!
Marcy then tells Finn to look deep into her eyes, saying that she isn't the one who took out all the cows, and we get this amazing line.
To be honest, it looks like you're not sure if you did it.
Okay, I'm not sure.
They comfort her, saying that they'll figure it out together. Later at night, they go looking for clues, with Marcy feeling extremely weak from the procedure, but not so weak that she can't flame Finn and Jake.
You should have hung back with PB.
But I've got a bad feeling like you guys are gonna die without me.
Dang, Marcy, have some faith.
The three eventually come across this creepy looking parasite, following it into this cave where it's been feasting on all these different animals. Jake passes out from fear, and Finn eventually loses sight of the parasite. After coming out into the open, it's revealed that the villagers who originally asked for Finn and Jake's help have kidnapped Marceline, tying her to a windmill so she'll burn alive when the sun rises. What's funny is that when Finn tells him how f***ed up that sounds, he folds without any pressure.
You're gonna explode my friend!
Oh, Flip, you're right! This is way messed up! Run, Finn! You gotta beat the sun!
But of course he can't, and the sun eventually hits Marceline, concluding part 1. Part 2, titled Everything Stays, is actually a flashback episode detailing some of Marcy's past. For the first time in the series, we see Marcy's mother. We only catch the tail end of her story about how she met Hudson. She then tells baby Marcy to go to sleep, but she says she doesn't want to because she has extremely weird dreams. Unfortunately, as we know, this is something that never stops happening to her. But Marcy's mother comforts her and sings Everything Stays, one of the most loaded Adventure Time songs. This song is extremely important thematically, and I'll get to its significance at the end of the miniseries. We then cut to a scene that takes place probably a year or two after the episode Simon and Marcy. Marceline is packing up some of Simon's things, and we catch a glimpse of him recording that tape we saw back in Holly Jolly Secrets. This was the episode that initially revealed Ice King's true past. Unfortunately, the Crown's powers have gotten a lot worse, showing more of his Delulu side we've come to regularly see. The tape he was recording was actually meant for Marceline, but because he's going crazy, he mistakenly takes it with him. Marcy begs him not to go, but he says that he has to protect her.
I'll arrange for someone to come take care of you. I'll make sure he doesn't leave.
Well, that's a load of bullshit, because we'll later find out what deadbeat actually showed up. Nonetheless, because it's getting harder and harder to control his powers, he leaves Marceline in a cold, desolate world all alone. The next scene we see is a couple of years later, where Marceline has been hunting down vampires non-stop. She comes across the Fool, one of the ultra vampires. He's also one of the more completely unserious ones.
Hey, you wanna see something funny?
I look like a bud.
She takes him out and, using her soul-sucking ability, which she inherited from her father, absorbs his essence, and now she has his ability to fly. I'll also get back to this shortly. We then get glimpses of Marcy surviving in the wild, eventually encountering a group of humans. Unfortunately, they're afraid of her, not because she's a vampire, since she hasn't become one yet, but because of her sharp teeth, as a result of her half-demon nature. Eventually, she gets through to the humans and becomes a part of their group. In a later scene, Marcy meets with the chief known as Two Bread Tom, who's preparing a ship for departure from Ooh. Marcy tells him that she's almost killed all the vampires and that sooner or later they won't have to go. But he responds with an interesting statement.
But it's not just the vampires or the users.
Or them hungry-looking rainbows.
What's funny is that this definitely refers to Lady Rainicorn and her species. Back in season 2, it stated that Rainicorns find humans delicious, super dark. In addition to those, Two Bread Tom also says that the latest seismic readings indicate that something big is coming that will change life as they know it. As we know, what he's referring to is probably the Catalyst comet that appears every 1,000 years, which brings with it an agent of change. It is also implied that the island Two Bread Tom will eventually set off to is the island we see the humans arrive in the Islands miniseries. We even see a statue of him in one of those episodes. Anyways, Marcy and his conversation are cut short when vampires ambush them. We then meet another ultra vampire named Hierophant. He has the ability to shapeshift. He even turns into that thing Marcy turns into in a previous episode. They have a cool fight with Hierophant slicing her in half, but she heals instantly. This makes Hierophant realize that Marcy had slain another ultra vampire off screen named the Moon, who could self-heal. Marcy also showcases that she now has the power to turn invisible, which we'll later find out she got from the ultra vampire named the Empress. She catches Hierophant off guard and steals his shape-shifting powers, but victory is short-lived as she then sees a glimpse of the worst vampire of all, the Vampire King himself. We're then finally transported back to the present, and against all odds, Marceline is not affected by the sun. PB's procedure worked. She is no longer a vampire. However, at the end of the episode, Jake wakes up in that cave, coming across 5 of those ultra vampires Marceline had slain in the past. It turns out Marcy's vampiric essence became a life of its own, feeding on a bunch of animals, and when it gained enough energy, it manifested into all of them. This is actually what her dream was symbolizing. The 5 silhouettes her body parts transform into foreshadow the 5 ultra vampires that the rest of the miniseries centers on. It also foreshadowed Marceline becoming human, symbolized by her body breaking apart and abandoning what made her a vampire. In part 3, we see the ultra vampires talking among themselves. Realizing how much time has passed since they were slain by Marceline. Most of them want to return to feeding on human blood, but surprisingly, the Vampire King chooses to hunt animals instead, hoping to adapt to the new era they've been brought into. Given their disagreement, the vampires split up. Meanwhile, Marcy is adjusting to human life when Jake shows up, stating that he ran into those strange vampires. Marceline is obviously confused since she had killed all of them 1,000 years ago, yet it might have something to do with how she's now human. It is here that she realizes she no longer has those ultra vampire abilities, like the ability to fly. Finn asks her if her dad had given her any powers, and she responds that the only thing she got was her soul-sucking ability. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, this retcons what that season 2 episode stated about vampires. Back then, it was assumed that vampires naturally had all the abilities Marceline had, like flight, shapeshifting, and invisibility. After killing all of them and absorbing their abilities, she basically became the ultimate vampire. Marcy comes to PB to ask her about what might be going on, and we see this hilarious scene of Finn putting his arms around the two. I love that he's genuinely doing this to try and comfort the two, but he's just so socially awkward that he doesn't realize that now's not the time. Jake then begins describing how the weird vampires look to Peppermint Butler, with ridiculous descriptions.
There's one of them who looked like a wet uncle. Nah, that's not right.
But then, Pep-Butt manages to draw one that catches the attention of Marceline. That's when we come back to that flashback of Marcy encountering the Vampire King himself. The show, for some reason, goes full anime, showing Marceline damaged and bloody from her ongoing battle with him.
I can beat this guy! He's trash!
Eventually, Vampire King pins her down and tells her that there's one last way to save his species. He bites her and impales himself on her stake, sacrificing himself in the process, and that's how Marceline ultimately became a vampire. Many people interpret this scene as an allegory for sexual assault, largely because of how it's framed and the fact that Marceline is forcibly turned into a vampire without her consent. The act leaves her fundamentally changed from who she was before. I can totally see the connection. Marceline in the present tells everyone that these vampires are not meant to be fucked with, and that they're the toughest opponents she's ever come across. But Peppermint Butler, being the MVP, gets all of them prepared. Go check out my analysis and recap of his entire character if you haven't already, by the way. Marcy then comes across this invisible projection and tells the rest to head back.
I know you're in there, you skunk.
You butt, you stain, you...
And she has a conversation with the Vampire King after 1,000 long years. He tells her that he's changed and now feeds only on animals, but Marceline isn't convinced, citing that he's caused too much harm to ever be forgiven. She then takes out the fool with ease just like last time, getting back her flying powers. Vampire King then warns her that the Empress has already made her way to the Ice Kingdom, with Marcy uttering,
Simon! Crud!
With no hesitation, she rushes after her. That's one vampire down. In part 4, we learn more about the Empress and her abilities. She can not only turn invisible, but also hypnotize others. It's revealed that at one point, after Simon had left Marceline, the Empress managed to hypnotize him and make him her servant before Marceline eventually defeated her. Because of that history, this battle is deeply personal to her. This episode also revealed a significant development that is crucial to Marceline's character. She explains that she began hunting vampires because of Simon. After he left her, she felt completely alone without guidance, and barely able to survive. At one point, she thought she saw Simon again, only to realize it was just an elderly man with his family. When a vampire attacked them, Marceline killed it without hesitation, but in doing so, frightened the family away. As she puts it,
staking vampires, protecting the last remaining humans, it felt like I was protecting you.
It's moments like this that only deepened the bond between Simon and Marceline. She felt that by hunting vampires, she was keeping Simon close to her heart and refusing to let the memory of him fade away. Anyways, the Empress gets in Marcy's head by saying Simon was much happier back when he was under her control. This causes the Empress to gain the upper hand, and just as she's about to control Marcy, Peebee pulls an ex machina and freezes her in place.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Marceline then stakes her and gains her invisibility powers. She then apologizes to the group, saying,
Alright, I shouldn't have tried to go it alone with the vamps. From now on, we'll do this team-up style.
That's 2 vampires down. In part 5, Marceline has a rematch with Hierophant. While being a pretty formidable opponent, we learn he's also an old head and plays by the old traditional vampire rules, as seen with how he'll only enter a house if he's invited in. He even gets pissed when he comes across a garlic bomb, not because it can hurt him, but because it's apparently too complex for him. He then transforms into this huge monster and manages to poison Marceline. After Peppermint Butler sends a text about how he's a boomer, again, true MVP, Jake transforms into a house, blocking the Hierophant from getting inside. This leads to an interesting conversation between him and Marceline. He proposes teaming up against the Vampire King, correctly pointing out that Marceline can't defeat him alone. He even deduces,
I don't know how it finally happened, but he must have let you beat him. Am I right?
Marceline agrees to work with him, but only on the condition that he feeds on red like she does, instead of poor innocent animals. Unsurprisingly, he immediately goes back on his word. Then some nonsense happens and he's pushed into Jake's house for him.
Oh, I wasn't invited! No!
Apparently, the guilt of betraying his own principles was just too much for him. Marceline absorbs his power, but then collapses, as the poison Hierophant injected within her is getting worse. But that's another vampire down. Part 6 opens up with an interesting dream sequence. We hear Marceline's ethereal voice singing a song named Love in Its Place. In the dream, we see Simon and Betty baking a pie together, strongly implying that they're married. Marceline then appears at their door, holding flowers for them. Based on the song's title and lyrics, I think the dream represents Marceline's ideal reality. One where Simon raised her through her teenage years, and one where she never became a vampire, signified by the absence of bite marks on her neck. Betty's presence also makes sense here, since Simon would have told Marceline about her during their time surviving together. For Marceline, seeing Simon get his happy ending is just as important as her own. It's also worth noting that Marcy isn't wearing red in this dream. Throughout the series, red is closely tied to her vampiric identity, so its absence suggests her desire to be human again. Instead, she wears pink, which could be read as a subtle nod to her wanting to be with Princess Bubblegum. Or maybe she is with Princess Bubblegum already in this scenario. Unfortunately, reality can be nothing but harsh, as we see Marceline still in a coma from Hierophant's poison. We actually get one of Peebee's best moments in the series, where she reflects on her own arrogance.
I believed in myself so much that I was blind to the possible consequences. Now my best friend is dying of poison because of me.
Finn and Jake tell her, though, that taking a risk means everything to a friendship. It's one of those moments I forgot to mention in my Peebee character breakdown. Go check it out if you haven't already. But again, it further develops her and Marcy's bond. Peppermint Butler says he has a machine back at the castle that can potentially save Marcy, so they head there, while Finn and Jake try to hunt down the second last ultra vampire, the Moon. Peppermint Butler's methods are pretty much useless, and without warning, Finn and Jake crash into the castle with the Moon just behind them. This vampire might be the creepiest of them all. I mean, listen to this.
You run in the path of my light. That's her voice?
She also has this power that can make anyone tap out.
Tap out? When do you ever tap out?
Peebee hides Marceline inside a latch, and we get to see one more dream of Marceline's. In it, we see Peppermint Butler digging a grave, presumably for Marceline herself, while an aged, withered version of her sings. Peebee appears beside her, urging her to wake up as the dream begins to collapse under the light of the moon. This dream is also a reference to what Peebee said earlier.
And someday, when you die, I'll be the one who puts you in the ground.
The Moon is on the verge of taking Peebee and Marceline out when another character with the initials PB pulls a masterclass.
In your face!
Marceline then absorbs her powers and gains her healing ability, bringing her back to full strength. That's another vampire taken care of. The only one left, the Vampire King himself. In the penultimate episode of the miniseries, we get cute scenes of Marcy and PB bonding, as well as Marceline stuffing herself with food. 1,000 years of being a vampire made her forget how to eat normally. VK shows up without warning, and the group tries to jump him. The funny part is, he's the one trying to reason with them.
Let me finish my thought.
Stick you! Okay, go ahead.
He says that the never ending of tug of war between light and darkness is as old as time, and quite frankly, given that there are no vampires left, why would he even want to be the Vampire King anymore? So he kneels down and tells them to remove his vampire essence, just as PB did with Marceline at the beginning. We then get this amazing scene.
Finn, what the heck?
It's against my code to strike a foe who's raised their bottom to the sky.
Dem your rules.
Dem a good rule, though.
Marceline ignores Finn as the Vampire King lifts her into the air, pleading once more that they can change their fate this time.
I like the outcome where you get staked.
And you become a vampire?
That gives her a revelation.
I know I was ruthless in the past, but tell me, what's the one thing you've noticed about the world since you beat me all those hundreds of years ago?
Everything repeats over and over again. No one learns anything because no one lives long enough to see the pattern, I guess.
But you've lived long enough.
This scene actually makes me respect VK a lot as a villain. He's not the stereotypical big bad at the end of the miniseries, but a villain actively embracing change. The only thing I would have liked to have seen is more of his ruthless side to have this hit a bit harder. Anywho, Marceline says that changing their original outcome is an unknown, and the VK basically throws a temper tantrum about how he's not afraid of the unknown.
I couldn't throw the fucking sand in his face. Couldn't throw the sand in his face. I couldn't do the...
Marceline then ends up agreeing to take out his vampire essence. It works, and we're left with this majestic line. And just when it feels like it might be the end, where everyone lives happily ever after, Princess Bubblegum tells Peppermint Butler to bury VK's vampire essence deep underground.
Just be uber-duper careful not to drop it. Pure vampire essence this powerful could kaboom reality off its whack.
And naturally,
Bucky.
And out comes the true final boss. In the miniseries finale, PB, Finn, and Jake prepare to take down the sentient vampire essence, but Marceline chooses to sit this one out. She believes the chaos is her fault, stemming from her attempt to become human again, and in her words, fix herself. They go on without her, but as she sulks and admits defeat to the Vampire King, Ice King pays her a visit. Not because he wanted to help the group, but because he felt left out.
Oh, I see. Sitting this one out, huh?
Yeah, and don't try to talk me out of it.
What? No, I'm right there with you. You and me, we're survivors, right?
I love this moment because it suggests that a small part of Simon is still buried within the Ice King, and because it reminds Marceline why she started fighting in the first place. It's the perfect way to pull her back into the fight. We also get one of her best lines.
I'm gonna poop my pants if Finn kills this guy instead of me!
This implies that Marceline and Finn have some sort of rivalry with one another, but honestly, I think this is mostly just off-screen implications. After all, you know she's never once been present in any of the times the Lich has been tearing shit up? I always found that interesting. Anyways, she shows up, enters the dark cloud, and thinks to herself,
Vampire King, you still in here? Hello? Too bad.
That line really highlights why this entity works as the perfect final boss for Marceline. Throughout the miniseries, she's been hunting the vampires of her past, but there's one she never confronted, herself. The dark cloud represents the resentment she carries toward her own vampiric nature, especially since becoming a vampire was never her choice. So she becomes full Sailor Moon and sucks up the entire cloud, but at a cost. She is turned into a vampire again. So does that mean that she lost the battle with herself? Well, yes, but also no. In the end, Marceline isn't as upset about becoming a vampire again as we might expect. When Finn worries about her,
do you feel bad? I don't want to say like, I'm sorry about who you are or anything if you're feeling okay, but I don't know how bad news all of this is.
She reassures him that instead of feeling worse, she actually feels more empathetic, able to look back on fresh new memories from her brief time as a human again. She also says,
Bonnie, thank you for helping me grow up. Now I guess we get to hang out together forever.
This ties a neat bow to the dream she had of PB and setting up for when they finally get back together. After they leave, we get another interesting scene.
Your friends seem nice.
Are you like in my head now or what?
For now.
Well, just don't get in my
And finally, Marceline sings the song that her mother sang to her when she was a little girl, Everything Stays. This song fully captures the complexity of Marceline's journey in this series, as well as what every Adventure Time character goes through. The song is meant to reflect how everything in life will remain, whether it be something tangible like the people in your life, or something more metaphorical like heartbreak or happiness. But through time, they will change. The imagery of the garden invokes something familiar to us, a memory, a place, or a time. And the object that's lying upside down is to illustrate that over time, our perspective on the things that matter to to us will change. Have you ever had a song you loved during a certain point in your life, but because something traumatic happened at that time, you can't listen to it anymore without being reminded of the trauma? For a long time, I stopped listening to those songs because they just brought back the heartache. But over time, because of new experiences and new memories, when I listen to them again, I feel something new entirely. The hurt is still there, everything stays, but it's taken on a new form, a kind of bittersweetness, but it still changes. Let me know in the comments your guys' experience that relate to Marceline's song. I would love to read them. The song, as I mentioned earlier, relates to pretty much every character in Adventure Time. Simon becomes Ice King again, then Simon again, with a completely new perspective on things. Jake struggles with the truth of his birth and identity, and it's only by accepting that he's not a normal dog that he realizes that he's
different yet the same.
Finn and PB are also great examples of this. I mean, she has exceptional character development throughout the show. Magic Man, as I mentioned in my character breakdown, undergoes a significant change, symbolized by the image he keeps of his wife, Margles. Much like my song example, that photo he keeps of her initially serves as a painful reminder, proof that he'll never get her back and a reflection of how far he's fallen. But over time, that changes. In the finale, instead of a reminder, it becomes a memento, something he can look back on with happiness, grateful that he was able to share those memories with her. I know this is a character breakdown of Marceline, but that song means a lot to me, and I would be doing a disservice to it by just mentioning how it applies to her. This is up there as my favorite of the 3 miniseries. A perfect blend of action, character-driven moments, and I just love the fact that each episode ends with one of the vampires being crossed off, like it's a video game. Anyways, I spent enough time on this chapter of her story. Let's continue, shall we? Season 8 brings us Brockus Crown, an episode where PB and Marceline enter the Ice King's crown to figure out what's causing him to glitch in the real world. Inside, Marceline reunites with Simon, who apologizes for focusing so much on Betty instead of her. I really love this moment because, as I mentioned earlier, he genuinely should have given Marceline more time when he returned. I also love the line,
"You got a boyfriend yet?"
No, there was this guy once, but he was a real jerk, so I dumped him hard.
Wish I'd been there to punch his face.
If only he knew that he already did. Eventually, they uncover the source of the problem, but as far as the characters know, this would be the last time Marceline ever sees human Simon. During the events of the Elements miniseries, where a bunch of characters are turned into elemental versions of themselves, we see that Marceline has turned into a candy version of herself named Marshmaline. She basically acts like PB's cute bodyguard. Oh yeah, who's also become this huge tower that wants to turn everything into candy. Thankfully, LSP with her anti-elemental powers turns Marceline and PB back to normal. In season 9, we have the episode Catch Up. Bimo shows up at Marcy's house ready to hunt vampires, but she tells him that all happened 6 months ago.
I apologize for the intrusion.
Okay, I know I've expressed that I'm not that crazy about Bimo, but these scenes of him are just too goated. Marceline gives Bimo this old USB of hers, hoping he can access the files on it.
It's funny, but I can't even remember what's on it.
Thankfully, he can recover her data, but it's just gonna take a while. In the meantime, they decide to catch up. She tells Bimo of what he missed when he, Finn, and Jake were off exploring the islands, when all of Oo was going to shit. See, after Patience caused PB's tower mutation and effectively cursed many people around her to morph into candy versions of themselves, Marceline, through sheer will, fought back her transformation. She confronted Patience and forced her to give her an antidote. The issue was that when Marceline climbed up to give PB the cure, Marcy found that she was a completely different person. Bonnibel didn't even want it. So, in realizing that she had lost her best friend, the person she loved most in the world, she stopped fighting her transformation and became Marshmaline. I liked that this episode gave Marcy's perspective on what happened just before the Elements miniseries. It shows that her love for PB was so powerful that she was able to fight back Patience's curse. We then get an important piece of dialogue. See, Bimo obviously realizes that she's talking about herself and PB in the story. At first, Marcy tries to be coy about it, saying,
"If that's how you interpreted it."
But then she says,
"Fine." I sort of copped out. I guess I just got some stuff that's harder to talk about. Maybe because I never actually talked about it for real. Not even to myself.
We've seen how Marceline often turns to music to cope with the heartache she has gone through. It's her way of processing things. But sometimes, as we saw in the episode where she recounts her and Simon's story, she tries to sugarcoat or soften the harsh reality.
So what happened next? How's it end?
Well, little Marcy felt a lot better, and she and Simon lived happily ever after.
That's why, when telling Bimo what happened in Elements, she uses aliases like Rockstar Girl and Lollipop Girl. Eventually, Bimo completes the USB scan, revealing images of baby Marceline at the beach with her mother. The photos clearly overwhelm her with sadness, and when Bimo asks who they are, she once again can't bring herself to tell the truth. It's simply too painful. Instead, she smiles and asks Bimo to make up a story about them. He tells a tale about a woman called the Moon Lady, who only appears during lunar eclipses. One day, while the little girl is playing at the beach, the Moon Lady visits visits her and they spend a beautiful day together. But soon after, since the eclipse was ending, the moon lady had to leave, and the baby girl never forgot about her. Marcy is touched and tears up hearing Bimo's interpretation, because it is exactly how she would have told the story. As we'll later find out, the story of what happened between her and her mother is far more tragic. In the final season, we have the episode Marcy and Hunson. Pep-Butt summons Hunson back to Ooo to power up Finn's sword with Nightysphere magic to take on the penultimate antagonist of the show, PB's Uncle Gumball. The thing is, Hunson also wants to see how Marcy's doing, so Peppermint Butler says he can chill in Ooo for one whole day, but he binds him with a curse that inhibits his powers. Hunson's actually quite self-reflective here.
You know, now that we're here, I'm having second thoughts. It just seems like no matter what I do, I always tick that girl off.
That's when we see a flashback taking place directly after Simon had left her in the past. She builds herself a small shed and begins adapting to life on her own.
Marceline! Long time no see. Some goober with glasses summoned me. What's that thing? Just gonna put this here, okay? Now let's go suck some souls!
As I mentioned earlier, this confirms that the someone Simon had called to come take care of her was in fact her father, but unfortunately he was a true deadbeat. This flashback also explains how Marcy acquired the family axe, which she eventually turned into her bass guitar. While he embarrasses Marceline during her nighttime gig, the moment a group of ghosts start shitting on her, he immediately goes full protective dad mode. Despite getting his ass kicked because Peppermint Butler bound his powers, Marceline starts to see her father in a new light.
Thanks for standing up for me tonight.
I'm bad, but I'm not so bad, right?
This is actually the last time Hunson Abadir appears, so it's nice that their last moment on screen was a wholesome moment of reconciliation. But actually, spoilers for Fionna and Cake Season 2, in the post-credit scene he actually appears to Marshall Lee, setting up Season 3.
What's he up to, man? What's he doing?
Let's get to the finale, come along with me. As PB prepares for the Great Gum War against her uncle, Marceline tries to talk her out of it.
I mean, I don't like to flaunt my suffering cred, but I've lived through something like this once before, and I'm just not really trying to help start that all up again.
It's clear that when Marceline says this to PB, she's reflecting on what the Vampire King said to her, how the same things repeat over and over: war, destruction, and death. Although PB initially says there may be no other way, she and Aunt Lolly sort things out, and it looks like war won't happen after all.
Are you sure about that?
Golb arrives and starts going on a rampage. At one point, PB gets cornered and...
No!
As a result, Marceline goes full Sailor Moon again, and then basically goes Great Ape straight after. She harnesses a form reminiscent of the dark cloud that appeared at the end of Stakes. With ease, Marceline takes down one of Golb's monstrosities. Thankfully, PB is unharmed, and Marcy pulls her into a tight hug, admitting that she's been afraid something might happen to her ever since they stopped talking. PB reassures her that nothing will ever happen to her, and finally, the two kiss. Eventually, Golb is defeated, if Betty fusing with the thing counts as defeating him, and Ice King turns back into Simon. In the montage scene, we see Marcy, PB, and Simon chilling together at her house. After all the bullshit she had gone through in her life, she finally got a happy ending, being with the people she loved most in her life. And that would be all for the finale, right? Well, not exactly, because we are also shown a 1,000-year time skip. We barely see any familiar faces aside from Bimo and Sweet Pea. Instead, we're introduced to two new adventurers, Shermie and Beth, who are actually living in Marceline's current house in the present. A clear callback to how Finn and Jake once moved into the treehouse, which originally belonged to Marceline. The question is, where is she in this future? If we look closely at the intro, we see a mysterious figure peering through a telescope while perched on a duck-like creature. Many fans believe this character to be Marceline, something Marceline is shown to wear in some of her outfits, and the telescope itself is marked with the initials MA, likely standing for Marceline Abadir. If that isn't convincing enough, the duck creature she's perched on is the same one Finn and Jake encounter in Evicted, Marceline's very first appearance in the series. Some fans also believe she's searching for PB. Just a few frames before we see her, the intro shows pink hands inside a jail cell, suggesting that PB may have been captured either by the Ice Thing or Patient Saint Pym, who knows. And just when you think Marceline's story is over, we're given one final episode that fills the last missing piece of her story, Obsidian. Taking place a few years after the Come Along With Me finale, we see Marcy and PB living a cozy life, when this glass kid shows up and starts worshipping and praying to Marceline. It's revealed that sometime in the past, a dragon began tearing shit up in the Glass Kingdom, prompting them to call PB for help. Marceline tagged along also. Bubblegum struggled to contain the dragon, while Marcy kept distracting her, leading to a heated argument. In the middle of it, PB gets pissed and says,
I honestly can't focus with you here acting like monster trash.
Extremely hurt by her words, Marceline responds by singing a brutally harsh song about PB, one that ends up trapping the dragon. Glass Kingdom celebrates, but Princess Bubblegum coldly tells her,
Fine. we're done.
She breaks down and the two officially break up. Back in the present, when Glass Boy asks them for help again after the dragon escapes, they're initially hesitant because it's just gonna bring back very awkward feelings and painful memories for both of them. After he begs them, they agree to go. Along the way, Marceline starts to recognize this wasteland and finally admits reluctantly that she once lived here. When PB asks when and why, Marceline says she doesn't want to talk about it. As the present day story unfolds, we're shown flashbacks to when Marcy and her mother Elise were trying to survive after the mushroom bomb went off. In one scene, Elise asks young Marcy to draw a map of her surroundings, then insists she includes a bear wearing a hat. When Marcy says she wants to draw something else, Elise responds,
No, the panda is very important.
Before telling her she'll grow up to be a great artist. It's funny because she was right, just not in the way she expected. In the present, Marceline tries to use the same harsh song she once wrote about PB to trap the dragon, but it no longer works. She realizes she can't draw on that same pain anymore because she and PB have since reconciled and are in a much healthier place. So she says,
I have to go back to the place where I was hurt the most.
We then go back to that memory of Marcy and her mother. Marceline tells her that she found the landmark, the water tower. Elise encourages Marceline to draw the map in such a playful way as a way to shield her from the sheer atrocities caused by the mushroom bomb. It's also fitting that Elise asks her to draw a bear, and I assume a few months after this, Simon would give her Hambo, the teddy bear that would become one of Marceline's most treasured items. They're on their way to what Elise calls a clubhouse party, which is actually a fallout shelter, and she does her best to distract Marcy from the devastation around them. As they play I Spy, Elise starts coughing. Along the way, they come across a small, seemingly harmless wolf, but Elise quickly realizes it's been mutated and attacks it. Seconds later, the wolf's mother appears and retaliates. After Marcy gets attacked, she angrily sucks out the creature's soul. Elise watches in horror as Marceline realizes what she's done, while the young wolf cries out for its deceased mother. Listen, whoever wrote this shit is a storytelling genius, but also, what the f is wrong with you, man? This fucked me up the first time I watched it. It's always animals getting hurt that hits a different part of your soul. In the present, we see Marceline staring at that same water tower, implying she was remembering this traumatic memory. The next memory we see is extremely important. As Elise works on fixing a motorbike, Marcy quietly asks if her mother is afraid of her. Elise pulls her into a hug, about to reassure her, but then coughs up blood and quickly hides it. She hands Marcy an ID card that will grant her access to the so-called clubhouse party, saying that she'll stay behind to finish repairing the bike. Marcy obviously doesn't want to leave her, but Elise suddenly snaps, telling her,
"Don't have time for you right now."
This is the direct parallel to what PB later says to Marcy before their breakup.
I don't have time for you right now.
That moment perfectly contextualizes why Marceline's song toward PB was so harsh. It brought back the trauma of her mother pushing her away. You know, as I go through this episode, I honestly believe this might be one of, if not the best episode of the entire show. It's so well structured, and the way it weaves in connections and callbacks is just so effective. If Together Again wasn't a thing, this would easily be my favorite. I just have a soft spot for Finn and Jake. Eventually, Marceline arrives at the fallout shelter and discovers that everyone inside is already dead. With nowhere else to go, she ends up staying there, turning it into a temporary home. It's here that we learn Marceline believed her mother was so frightened by what she had done to the wolf that Elise fixed up the scooter and abandoned her. She even wonders if her father was afraid of her too. Though based on everything we later see in the series, we know for sure this isn't the case. I also want to point out the red light blinking on one of the computers in the shelter. Baby Marcy doesn't understand what it is, and she just sings a song about it. In the present, Marceline comes across that fallout shelter again and flies up to that computer on the ceiling, saying,
"This thing always got on my nerves."
She accidentally hits play and hears a recorded message from her mother. Elise apologizes for lying and tells Marceline that she's brave and strong enough to survive in this changed world. It's implied that Elise was dying from radiation poisoning, as signified by her constantly coughing, and so she made sure Marceline got to someplace safe and somewhere where she couldn't see her own mother die.
Marceline, you're there, are you?
You're mine. It unwinds you. It unwinds you.
I'm sorry I had to trick you.
There's nothing you could ever do. Strings of emotion, corroded. The many things that were left unsaid. What if the hurt gets worse over time? Oh, to be loved is
not gonna change you, because you have a good heart.
Love you, Marceline. I hope you can forgive me.
For 1,000 years, Marceline believed her mother had left because she was afraid of her. Hearing this message finally makes her realize that her mother always loved her. After this, Marceline says,
I need to be with Bubblegum. She's good for me. It's not her fault I've got baggage.
And just as she's about to leave, this obsidian monster smashes her base into pieces. It seems like she's about to go apeshit again, but instead...
The other day, I would totally annihilate you for wrecking my stuff! But Bonnie is more important.
A nice full circle moment for her.
Want to help him? Help me get my bass back.
How will that help him?
My dad stole my bass guitar, Finn!
After coming to PB, she says,
A wave of acceptance has washed over me.
No context needed for this. After they get trapped in a cave, Marceline finally opens up to PB. She tells her about what happened to her mom and how Elise never used to tell her bad things. As a result, Marceline always had difficulty expressing her true feelings. He then sings her a song, one that at the beginning of the episode she was hesitant to sing to PB.
Okay, no, it's not done yet.
This time, it's not a harsh breakup song, but one about how much she loves and cares for PB. Funny enough, it's this song that touches the dragon's heart too, making it flash back to its own tragic past, before eventually turning into this peaceful creature, allowing PB and Marcy to escape. In the final scene, we see how Bonnibel got that shirt Marceline gave to her, the one we saw in What Was Missing. Turns out, she was at one of her concerts, and Marceline threw it to her in the crowd. And that, as we know it, is the full story of Marceline.
Is it though?
Oh, for goodness sake!
Marceline has had some cameos in Fionna and Cake. For example, in the first season, we visit a universe where Marceline was raised by the Vampire King instead of Simon, because, well, Simon was dead. As a result, the world was overrun by vampires, and the land of Vu became a completely twisted and near unlivable landscape. Marceline becomes the star, an absolutely bloodthirsty and evil vampire. We also come across a rebel group led by Princess Bubblegum, who, naturally, because of what's become of their world, is disgusted by the idea of being with her in an alternate universe. This just puts into perspective just how important Simon was in Marceline's early years. If he hadn't raised her, leading her down a path of righteousness, the land of U after the Mushroom War would have become a hellish nightmare. She also appears in the second season of Fionna and Cake, but for now, she's mostly playing a supporting role. We actually see the Vampire King appear briefly in her mind, telling her to bite Finn to save him from an otherworldly poison. This confirms that VK will resurface here and there, but probably only when she's really stressed. Biting Finn doesn't help, and she becomes poisoned too. PB then uses her hair to try to resuscitate her, a callback to the episode Red Starved. I'm honestly okay with Marceline having a supporting role in this series. She's had more than enough development in the original series, and I'm of the opinion that it's okay for her to take a backseat for a while. Oh yeah, in the finale of season 2, it's also shown that she makes the executive decision for PB to take a break from ruling the Candy Kingdom, handing her crown to Peppermint Butler. Marceline began the show as a vampire who appeared genuinely evil, but was ultimately just theatrical and antagonistic for fun, quickly becoming an ally to Finn and Jake. Although she technically craves blood and is the daughter of Adventure Time's version of Lucifer, she does not actively hurt anyone innocent and often looks down on her demon side. She reminds me a lot of Dante from Devil May Cry. Dante and Virgil were born as half human, half demon. One refused to acknowledge his demonic side, while the other viewed being human as weak, trying to separate that part of himself. The thing is, it's only after Dante accepts both sides of himself that he can defeat his brother and realize that balance is the source of his strength. The series ultimately reframes Dante's humanity as his greatest strength, emphasized by his ability to feel and express grief. Marceline's story follows a similar path. In Obsidian, we learn that she believed her mother left because of her demonic nature. Yet later, when vampires begin roaming U, she starts using that same demonic strength for good, hunting vampires and absorbing their powers. This conflict extends to her vampiric side as well. During stakes, she fights hard to remain human, but ultimately becomes a vampire again. Like Dante, she finds strength in accepting all the different sides of herself. She embraces it, especially knowing it means spending eternity with PB. I also want to mention again the importance of that red light in Obsidian. Baby Marcy was unable to hear her mother's final message, because at that time, she wasn't able to fly. But centuries later, after gaining new powers thanks to her demonic traits, she is able to fly up to it and hear it. It's fitting that the traits Marceline once saw as a curse are what ultimately help her heal and find closure with her mother. I'd argue that Marceline has the most tragic backstory in the entire series. Having lived for centuries, she's carried the weight of a deadbeat father, a mother she believed had abandoned her, and an adoptive father who slowly became someone she could barely recognize. She lost more than anyone should have to undergo, and yet, through it all, one thing kept her going: memory. She She used the pleasant and tragic memories of her mother, Simon, PB, and Hudson to write songs that helped her cope with the pain. Over time, she found a new family, not just in PB, but also in Finn and Jake, who essentially became her best friends. LSP too, I forgot to mention that. It's also worth remembering that 1,000 years later, Shermie and Beth are living in Marceline's house. I can totally imagine a scene of Marceline seeing the two of them, being reminded of Finn and Jake, and choosing to pass her house on to them. After all, everything stays right where you left it, everything stays, but it still changes. We know that both Marceline and PB are still around 1,000 years later. Having lived through cycles like the rise and fall of the Vampire King, Marceline is now able to recognize the repeating pattern of death, decay, and destruction that seems to resurface every few centuries. The only hope is that by reflecting on her past and on herself, that she might help prevent another Mushroom War or Great Gum War. Thing is, we already see signs of one forming in the future, with Beth seemingly recruiting a rebel group to overthrow Jake's grandson, Gibbon, a supposedly evil dictator. So everything stays, but we still change, and finding balance within ourselves is what matters most. We shouldn't hide ourselves from the heartbreak. We shouldn't close ourselves off from our feelings and push people away. Our pain shapes us just as much as our strengths. Marceline is direct proof of that. A human, a demon, and a vampire, molded by cruelty and compassion, darkness and love. She is shaped by what she remembers and what she resists, defined not by either alone, but by how she holds both in harmony. Marceline is the Maiden of Malice and Memory. If you made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you wholeheartedly. This was easily my favorite character breakdown to complete. I mean, you guys can tell, she's such a goated character, but also because holy shit, look how long this video is. If you haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe. As I stated earlier, a majority of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. I'm hoping to get a big Finn character breakdown complete once I reach 200k. Also, if you're still here, don't click off just yet because I wanted to say a few things. I just wanted to say a big thank you for all the support you've given me this past year. It's been a roller coaster with a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but throughout, YouTube has helped me in ways I could never have imagined. To read your positive comments and your different interpretations and insights helps me so much to stay motivated. I just wanted to ask you guys for a quick favor. Major changes are occurring with YouTube recently that have actually made me worried about the future of this channel. Like, channels are getting banned left, right, and center for seemingly no reason. I want to keep this community alive, so please follow my Instagram and TikTok, just in case something bad happens to this channel. Also, if you're on TikTok and you come across anyone posting my videos that isn't me, I would greatly appreciate it if you could just comment that I'm the original creator. After all, this has basically become my job, and some of these accounts amass millions of views and cut off my watermark and don't even give me credit. It's just so disheartening to see that shit. Again, I would greatly appreciate it. If you want to support me further, join my Patreon and consider grabbing my book, The Shattered Absolution, heavily inspired by Adventure Time and the other shows I cover. Have a happy new year, and I want to thank you once again for watching.